And what the drivers say they fear most of all is a head-on collision with a blind tube mare.
Personally, I think the management should round him up. Get rid of him.
What's up, YouTube? So, this is quite exciting. I'm going to be doing a little reaction to Stewart Lee, one of my favourite comedians. The music you can hear in the background is actually the music that plays before the show starts. And this is from, I don't know when, 2000 and something. And it's in Glasgow. I'm going to react to the entire show in segments. It's about an hour and 45 minutes, so it's going to be quite a few videos. And this is brilliant. There's a whole through line to this for the whole hour and 45 minutes. And I will try to dissect every little bit as we go. But here we go, and let's dive right in.
None of this rhymes. I hope we're all settled here and ready for a really great time. Turn off your mobiles and turn on your good comedy radar, because we really have got some fabulous polemic here. Please, put it together with a loud Glasgow. Don't punch me in the geggy for this, for Mr. Stewart Lee!
1, 2, 3, look at Mr. Lee, 3, 4, 5, look at King John, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee,
So, on September the 11th, 2001... I was actually on holiday, right? That seems distasteful now. But I wasn't to know at the time. You know, I didn't plan it. The holiday, I mean, not the attacks. And I was actually in the city of Granada in southern Spain, right? It's an interesting place. Granada was kind of the last point of Muslim occupation of medieval Europe. It's still a very mixed city. Lots of mosques, lots of churches, lots of Arab Spaniards and white European Spaniards, all getting on fine. And I was walking around there on 9/11, the 9th of November, reclaim the calendar. We invented those dates. I was walking around there on the 9th of November, 9/11, and I went into a little Spanish bar. And on television there was all this film of buildings on fire and things falling down and people running around screaming. And I said to the barman, "Where's that?" In Spanish, "Donde está?" And he said, "Nuevo Eureka." And I thought, oh, it's in Colombia or somewhere, it doesn't matter. And then I watched for a bit longer Glasgow, and I realised that it was New York, where English-speaking people live. And therefore a terrible newsworthy tragedy. And I don't know if you remember, do you remember the planes flying into the World Trade? Because we got that on the news in London, I don't know if you had it here. And I don't want to make any assumptions, you know. And so I was watching that in this Spanish bar, and then George Bush came on the television news, and he said, "We are going to get them folks what done this." And that annoyed me for two reasons. One, because it was grammatically inaccurate. And secondly, because you could already see the terrible kind of cultural fallout of what this was going to mean. There was suddenly a horrible tension between the Arab Spaniards and the white European Spaniards in this previously happy bar. And after a while, I couldn't stand the tension anymore. So I went into the gents to do a wee. And a couple of people over there sniggered at the word wee. That's fine. I know this is a tense subject to open with, and I'm happy that the word wee has helped diffuse the atmosphere a bit. So I was standing there in this Spanish bar on the 9th of November doing a wee out of my cot. And it was yellow, smelt of a wee. And while I was doing it, this thing happened that happens when you get a bit older, where when you kind of release the pressure on the front sphincter, the back sphincter kind of loosens off of its own accord, you know. And while I was there, this Arab guy came and he stood next to me, but I didn't make eye contact with him because I was embarrassed about the wee and world news events. But you know, while I was there, because I was a bit older, the front sphincter slackened off, the back sphincter went of its own accord, and suddenly a little fart came out. Right? But it was only a really tiny fart, like the kind of fart a vole might do, or anaphreo. It was a fart that smelt mainly of hair and was comprised principally of ideas. But it was a fart nonetheless, and the Arab guy, he heard the fart. And he looked across at me, and I looked back at him, and he laughed, and then I laughed, and I realised everything was going to be okay.
Brilliant stuff. So that's the first part of Stewart Lee's stand-up comedian. It's an entire hour and 45 minutes routine or act or night or whatever, and I just want to react to all of these because the through line is incredibly well done, very clever. It's probably worth going away and watching the entire thing through in a way before watching my reactions, but this is hopefully more than a reaction, and I'm going to try and shed a bit of light on what makes Stewart Lee so funny. I mean, first of all, he starts with this opening music which will tie in with something that happens in about an hour's time. He does this a lot of this sort of foreshadowing stuff, and of course just starting with talking about 9/11 at a comedy club on a comedy night is very brave, and it basically leads on to pretty much everything that happens as this routine unfolds. Brilliant start. I had to cut it there because what a great line, you know. He laughed and I laughed and I knew that everything was going to be okay. So his fart has sort of started the process of the world coming together and getting over its grief at 9/11. Brilliant stuff, and I'll be doing part 2 soon, so watch out for it, and I'll see you next time.
And in a statement issued just 10 minutes ago, the Home Secretary announced that he personally will be going into the tunnels this weekend, armed with a special gun.